Hi everyone. I've had several emails. I've received several emails from students with expressing concern and worry and confusion, trying to figure out why the assigned readings that were on the course page. If you go to the detailed course schedule, right? If you pull that page up and scroll down, you should be familiar with the fact that there are the assigned chapters to read for each of the weekly lessons, and then it listed the topics, right? Well, I had some students that were raising concerns that when they got down to for some of them week 3 and for some week 4, the topics were not corresponding with the chapters that were assigned, and also some of you reported that you didn't have a chapter that was assigned. So for example, chapter 19, a lot of you were saying that your book did not have chapter 19. So this caused me to worry and investigate what was going on, and long story short, I don't think this is really anybody's fault, but essentially what has happened is that there are a couple of different versions of this book. So first, there is what they call the brief edition, which is the edition that if you bought it from the bookstore, that's the edition that you would have gotten. It's the loose leaf edition, actually. It's this one right here. It's in a 3-ring notebook, and it's the Core Concepts and Help 16th edition, known as the brief edition, meaning it's a shorter edition. The publisher, when they sent me what we call my instructor reference copy, they sent me the big edition of it, which is the full edition. It's expanded, which is not the one that was assigned for this course. So I'm not sure why this was sent to me as the instructor edition instead of sending me the brief edition. This is the first time I've solved this course, and honestly had no clue that there was 2 versions of this, a brief and big, what they call big, or a full version of this textbook. So I've been using the big or the full version of this textbook to develop your quizzes and to assign content, and not using the brief version, which is the version that you guys would have had if you would have bought it from the textbook. So that's the bad news. The good news is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of discrepancy in the content that I've signed, just the numbers of the chapters have changed a bit. So what I have done, if you go to now the detailed course schedule, if you pull that up on the course page, you're going to see this chart, essentially, okay? And I just want to take a minute to explain what's going on here. So if you look, this is, corresponds to the 8 different weeks of your course. In this first row is these are the chapters that I originally assigned based on having the full edition. So these are the ones that were originally posted, okay? So it lists the chapter that was assigned, and then it actually lists the title of the chapter, okay? In the second row, if you bought it from the bookstore and got the 16th edition, but the brief version, which is the one that was purchased by the textbook and assigned, what I have done here is listed the corresponding chapters for your book. Now there's a few changes, and I'll describe in a minute how I'm going to contend with those. Okay, so you'll notice that for the first couple of weeks, they're pretty much identical. There's not a lot of change between the full and the brief, so that's good. For week 3, up to week 3, everything is pretty much the same. There's a slight difference in the content that's covered in chapter 6. So if you find any questions that were on your quiz for chapter 6 that were covered that you feel like were not covered in your version of the textbook, please bring them to my attention and let me know. So if you can't find the answer to a question in your book that's related to chapter content in chapter 6, sexuality, pregnancy, and childbirth, please let me know, and I will investigate that and make any corrections, because I don't want to assign any I'm not going to test you. My intention is not to test you on content that you haven't had access to, okay? So where it gets to be a little more complicated is when we get to for week 4. So for chapter 7, there is the assignment was for contraception. Your chapter, corresponding chapter, was also chapter 7. It covered contraception and abortion. So you would not have had any questions on there about abortion, but you would have had questions about contraception. So you were assigned reading a little bit more content than you would have been tested on. Chapter 19 is in the full version, but it is not in the brief version. So what I will be doing is going back and editing your your week 4 quizzes and taking out any questions that dealt with any of the content that was covered in chapter 19. Okay, so I'm going to go back, I'm going to take out those questions, see how the grades change, and might be making, a curve to those exams, because I don't want to punish you guys for, this confusion. This is certainly not your fault. So again, I'll go back, I'll modify those to remove the questions, and if it looks like there needs to be a curve extended, I will certainly do that. Okay. For chapter 5, the chapter assignments were chapter 10, drug use and addiction, chapter 11, alcohol, and chapter 12, tobacco. The corresponding chapters for your version, the 16th edition brief, would be chapter 8, drug use and addiction, and chapter 9, alcohol and tobacco. Okay. Then same thing for week 6. The content is the same, the chapter numbers are just different. So for week 6, instead of doing chapter 13 or 14, your assignment would be chapter 10 and 11. Week 7, instead of 15 and 18, it's going to be chapter 12 and chapter 14. And then for the final week, instead of chapter 21 and chapter 23, it's going to be chapter 16 and chapter 18. Okay. Some of you, if you were looking to buy an older version of the text, and you were not able to find or didn't want to pay for the most up-to-date version of it, and you bought the 15th edition, you may have noticed that they're pretty much the same, but there's a few modifications. So there is, in the 15th edition, there's no chapter on sleep, so you would not have had access to that content. And if you purchase this version of it, you would not have had it, just like the 16th material on chapters, the chapter that's on sexually transmitted infection. If you purchased the 15th edition and going on that, please contact me individually and let me know so we can figure something out. Okay? So hopefully that will help to clear things up. I just wanted to get you guys pointed in the right direction. I apologize, not sure how I got sent the full version, and I apologize for any confusion that this has caused. My intention is I do not want to punish you guys for this, any confusion or any errors this has caused. So please do reach out with me if you have any individual concerns or want to talk with me about this individually. I'm happy to chat with you and discuss your grade in full. The easiest thing to do would be to make an appointment with me via my booking page. If you look in my, if you go to the course syllabus, if you go down here to this website, you can book me, you can make an appointment with me. It doesn't have to be an in-person appointment. It can be via web or phone, whichever is most convenient for you. I know a lot of you are not in the Rocky Mount area. So if you do have concerns, questions, you're worried about your grade in this course and how these changes might affect you, please do reach out to me so we can, or set up an appointment with me so that we can work any questions or concerns out that you might have. Okay? All right, guys. Thanks so much.